Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. Today I'm looking at a book which has come to us from Globe Law and Business. It's an important book. It's the Encyclopaedia of Upstream Oil and Gas, now in a second edition, and the consulting editor is a good friend that we met before, Professor Eduardo Pereira. A very important book this is too at this particular time in the 21st century. Elizabeth was the lead writer on this work, and she's given it a title, Encyclopedic yet succinct coverage of a complex regulatory framework relating to upstream oil and gas. And that's exactly what you're getting. It is an encyclopedia, so a lot of information in it. It's a second edition. It's a hardback. There it is there. There's the front, there's the spine, and then there's a bit of blurb on the back. Just going to the front of it, there's the front page, standard house style of Globe. Then you've got the blurb there, and then you've got the content section. Some information about Eduardo at the beginning, and then you've got the various content sections, the various parts. There are 7 different parts in total covering this book. There's an introduction at the beginning, and it's pretty detailed. Let me just tell you what the actual sections are, so you know. Part 1 is the petroleum title. Part 2, consortium agreements. Part 3, key stakeholders. Part 4, regulatory framework. Very important, of course. Part 5, finance. Part 6, mergers and acquisitions, M&A. And Part 7, governing law and dispute resolution. There is, of course, actually at the back, a rather useful index, which is unusual for some of Globe's publications. I do tend to make a comment about that, but on this occasion we do actually have a very useful index, which I think does help. And Sean O'Neill, who's the managing director of Globe, talks about the work that Globe does. They do help our work tremendously. I'm very grateful to Sean and the staff for the huge amount of work they put in with these publications. This is the list of contributors because Eduardo is the consulting editor, and obviously quite a large number of people who've been involved in the book. And then you can see paragraph numbering at the sides for the various chapters as we run through. You've also got, as you can see, footnoting, which is quite helpful. And at the front of the book, it starts off, as I say, with an introduction from the editor, from the Siberian Federal University. Then royalty and tax regime starts off and runs through from there. There's some very senior people who've been involved in producing this work, and I think it's a great assistance to us to know where we are today with upstream oil and gas matters. It is of great help because the world is changing quite quickly at the moment. The issue of green issues, as we call them, post-pandemic, are going to have, I think, a very profound effect on the world, and that's something we're looking at. I'm recording this in the autumn of 2020, and it's interesting to see what will happen. So what do we say about this hardback and the new edition, second edition? Well, this: lawyers engaged in or involved with any aspect of the oil and gas industry, whether national or worldwide, will welcome this new second edition of what is called the Encyclopaedia of Upstream Oil and Gas, which comes to us from the publishing house Globe Law and Business. Its encyclopedic coverage of this global industry and the commentaries that are given and the advice contained therein ranges from the informational and enlightening to the positively startling, because obviously there are a lot of things happening at the moment. There's a lot of money involved as well. A compendium of some 32 articles by leading international experts in this field is what this volume has, and it's aimed to address the problems facing practitioners in this industry wishing to enhance their expertise in and their understanding of oil and gas law and the attendant regulations and transactions. And the book therefore is, we think, a valuable reference for those familiar with the oil and gas industry as we have it today, and those, of course, who are not quite so familiar. Now, as the consulting editor, Eduardo Pereira, explains, the book aims to provide an understanding of the relevant players, contracts, terms and provisions from the petroleum industry, and to familiarise experts and non-experts with the key legal topics involved, to explain and to enable them to navigate different sections of the petroleum industry. That's the purpose, the mission statement, if you like, and that's exactly what you're getting, because the book is actually grouped into relevant discussions in 7 sections, and it covers things such as petroleum title, that's the granting instrument, and consortium agreements to mergers and acquisitions, M&As, and finally the governing law and issues relating to dispute resolution. And of course that's very much not just of a national flavour here in England and Wales and the UK, but also very much of an international model now, in terms of basically, if we can, alternative dispute resolution rather than going to courts, which are very time consuming and frankly costly. I think of particular interest is section 3 on key stakeholders, because these primarily fall into 2 main categories: national oil companies, NOCs, and international oil companies, IOCs. It's pointed out in the article on IOCs that the distinction between the two is becoming increasingly blurred, as many NOCs are expanding their activities abroad. And of course I think that's an important thing to bear in mind, because we're very much part now of a global community, notwithstanding the problems with the pandemic which has hit the whole of the planet. And it is not unimportant to maintain awareness of their present and future geopolitical influence. And I think that again is terribly important in terms of foreign affairs, because a short list of these entities includes Gazprom, Qatar Petroleum, Petronas and PetroChina. And that gives you an indication, a flavour if you like, of where we might be moving. And it's pointed out, of course, in this edition that NOCs account for around 60% of the world's oil production and 79% of the world's proven oil reserves. These figures are apparently approximate, though depending on your definition of NOCs is how you would actually consider those statistics. And a footnote indicates that they are thought to comprise approximately 90% of the world's gas and oil reserves and 75% of the world's oil and gas production. Now, as Pereira succinctly put it, quote, "The petroleum industry is highly specialised and complex," absolutely true, "and it occupies a huge regulatory landscape. So anyone professionally involved in it would do well to acquire this volume now, because it's, in our view, it's very well established and it's a highly regarded legal text." So a big thank you to Globe Law for continuing to produce the work. The date of publication of the 2nd edition is cited as at the 19th of December 2019. Let's have one last look at it. There's the actual front page again. It's a hardback, as I say. There's the spine, you can see. There's a little bit of blurb on the back. We borrowed a little bit of it, but it's this is an important book. We only review important books which are of value. I don't believe in reviewing books which are not very good. That's why it gets a very high star rating. You can see the paragraph numbering in the middle of the book there. It's random, and you can see the footnoting there. And as I say, one thing that is good about this is the index at the back. Because at the front, there's the front there, you can see the table of contents, which is relatively straightforward, but it may be that you're looking for something very specific. So I think the index at the back will help. A very big thank you to everybody concerned, and I'm sure this is an important book for anybody involved in energy law, both nationally and internationally. Thank you to all. Bye-bye.